So I'm midway through this painting of these two sisters and a brother. I'm calling it, we don't know what we mean to each other. That's the intent behind it. It's not just a pretty picture of children, but hopefully I have the feeling behind it when I get done of family, and we don't know how we affect each other. I based the idea for it on a quote I heard Meryl Streep say the other day in an interview on NPR on Fresh Air. She said, she was talking about another movie star and how that movie star had basically brushed her off, even though she was famous. Barbra Streisand, as a matter of fact, had just kind of poo-pooed her. And this is a woman she looked up to and affected her life and in part made her want to be an actor. So in this story, she said, we never know how we affect one another or affect each other. And I thought that's brilliant, because we don't know in families how we affect each other. We only have our own point of view. So I'm hoping when I get done that there's a little bit of that and an undercurrent here. Now I'm midway through this painting, and as you can see, I've done some of the background, I've done the clothing, and now I'm taking my next step, which is working the faces again. I did basic shapes, basic colors, not really basic colors, but mainly basic shapes, basic lights and darks. And now I'm going to get into facial features. But I'm only going to pull it up to a certain point, and then I'm going to stop, because I cannot focus on any one part of the painting. This is the canvas, the whole canvas is something like, I always forget this, 7 feet by 9 feet, I think. The picture, once it is stretched, if it gets stretched, will be 6 feet by 8 feet, I think. And just because it's large doesn't give me the excuse of focusing in on one section. So what you're looking at right now is the background partially done. It's dark, but I don't have the barn in, and I'm not going to be painting every little barn bit, but I have text that has to go back here. I do have to give the indication of a building back here. I have brought her dress up to a fairly significant level without finishing it. Her dress, significant without finishing. His shirt, significant without finishing. And they all have indication of legs. I'm not going to be doing actual legs and coloring them in. I'm just going to do the lines on them. I think that's infinitely more interesting than doing the pants and the legs and the coloring. I don't care. I want interesting. I want something that's, in the end, dynamic and draws the viewer in. And it's something that hopefully someone will want to hang on their wall. And no one cares about children's pants being perfect. They want something I can't articulate at this moment. So what I've been doing right now is just kind of taking my very tiny reference and using it as a guide for the lights and darks. These faces aren't perfect. These faces aren't finished. But again, I'm not going to be doing perfect and finished today. If I do that, then it's going to screw with the dresses and the background. I've got a lot of work to do in here. I have to do creases. I have to do the creases and folds in her dress. But if I concentrate on that, before I've pulled their faces up to a certain level, this will be the focus. And no one wants a painting that is all about a woman's dress or a girl's dress. So, I'm sorry, I've seen it, and it just makes me nuts when people do that. So what I'm doing is just lights and darks. This little girl is a little bit, her eyes are off. Her eyes are off. But it's all fixable. It's okay. It doesn't matter. It's all fixable. Those are 2 of the 3 rules in painting. Doesn't matter. It's all fixable. So I'm not going to spaz out over her eyes being off, although I can see kind of where I might be able to pull that one over. I'm not going to worry about it. It's not that big a deal. I've got to like give up not before I give up, but I've got as much time as I want to do this. So there's no point in me freaking. But this little girl's face, as opposed to these two faces, does have to be more lifelike. I like teals in people's faces. I love using teal instead of skin color. That way there is no indication of race. Well, you know, for the most part, there's certain things that can't be changed. There's certain facial features, certain things that can't be, I don't know, something about race. You know that she's a little white girl. But I like to use teals, so there's not so much of a, you know, look at this, it's a painting of little white children feel. So it's more dynamic, and it actually can be, you know, this is a bad example, but normally, you know, the people could be Brazilian, they could be, you know, they could be Canadian, they could be from a variety of different countries. That's why I like to use the teal. There's no indication there of exactly where they're from. It has more of a universal feel. But anyway, without getting into race discussions, this little girl, I do have to make her feel more authentic and white, because teal children just don't go over well. They just look kind of smurfy and dead. Whereas she will be fine, he will be fine. I am going to accentuate lights and darks on these two, and then I'll probably be going in and doing, you know, just a little bit of work under the eyes. This little lippy thing in here, this little indent, whatever it's called, that can make or break the painting of a face. But then again, I just did it. If I did it wrong, it's fixable. It's okay. Can't really see this. I gotta put my glasses on. The faces are still distorted. They're not the right shapes. They're off. And right now I'm standing on a stool, a two-step stool that's one step too short for what I need. But it's okay. I've got all the time in the world to come back and fix this at some point. So we're not going to worry about it. We're not going to worry about the hair color being right. It's just a note. It's an indication of light. I don't know how much you can see from there, but it's just an indication of lights and darks. I'm not particularly thrilled with her mouth. I'm not particularly thrilled with her mouth. I don't like the poutiness of it. I think it's too sweet. She's got a heart-shaped mouth, which is very attractive, but it's just not interesting. But it's okay. I just made another note. I'm going to come down. This poor little guy is as ugly as sin. Some of it is that nose, the nose that I did earlier, the whites on it. But anyway, you get an idea of what I'm talking about without me standing here painting for an hour and yammering away. You get an idea of what I'm saying. I'm making note of what I'm saying. I'm making notes, lights and darks, indications of features. I will bring the faces just so far today and tomorrow, and then it's back down to another, it's over to another section, or down to the, me putting a little bit of color into the background. Because we don't want to forget, we don't want to forget the background. I don't want to forget the background because that would make the painting uneven. Once the background is done, the burn is a little bit further along, then I go through and I pull out more of the whites. I start making folds and creases. There are certain steps that have to be taken. The biggest thing to keep in mind is stay calm and just keep working the whole painting to keep, what was I going to say? Not to get lost in the tiny details, to keep the overall in mind, to keep working the entire, God, I'm out of it, keep working the entire painting.